Justice, seems to me that one source of the tension and conflict that divides the country are viewpoints that emphasize different elements. For example, the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, which appears to emphasize states' rights as opposed to an oppressive federal government, versus the viewpoint that emphasizes the Commerce Clause and equal protection of the 14th Amendment. Could you discuss how the court has analyzed and debated these issues?
Because one of those, is a fabulous example for teaching purposes. The first one you mentioned, the 10th Amendment, fabulous example. And I wish people could have seen it. Arkansas had a term limit rule on its members of Congress. And the question was, is the rule, maybe it was 6 terms or something, that they cannot serve more than 6 terms, is that constitutional? What a case. Why? Well, because you read the Constitution, and it says you have to be in Congress 25 years old, a citizen of the United States, and a citizen of the state that you're being elected from, or resident. Well, are those the only things, does it mean? You can't have any other requirements? Or could the state have a few others too? Well, it's pretty hard to figure out. Because if you look at what they said at the time, you will see Hamilton and Madison thought that's exclusive, just those 3, nothing more. Jefferson and Story thought the opposite. You could have more. You say, well, what were they doing at that time? There was only one state that had more. Virginia had a property requirement. You say, well, they certainly wouldn't want a property requirement. Oh, okay, what about a requirement that you can't be mentally ill? See, you can think of it both ways. What about precedent? What about precedent? Well, the precedent the one way, almost perfectly balanced precedent the other way. So I just wish people could have seen that argument. You'd have seen 9 people just struggling to find the answer to this. And I think, this is my opinion, that ultimately you have the 10th Amendment and you think it says power is not given to the federal government, reserved to the states. And some people put a little bit more weight on that. And they said Arkansas can do it. And other people, it was 5-4, I was in the majority. Other people said, but Congress is a federal institution created in Article 1, and you start mucking around with that, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. The staff may get the power, there are a lot of arguments well known on that, and this should be up to Congress what the qualifications are of anyone. They seat their own members, not up to the individual states. And some people put more weight on that consideration. See? So in the real cases, these kinds of things are pretty evenly balanced. Very often. Very often. And then you try to work it out. Yes?
No, yes.
I'm just wondering, in view of the importance of the First Amendment, what in the world could have been the legal arguments or the legal justification for the characterization or categorization of free speech zones?
The free speech, I'm not sure what you're thinking of there. And I'm not bringing to mind exactly what cases those words appeared in. What your question says, it may be that in certain areas, like obscenity or something, it doesn't have protection. Or I don't know what that is. That's probably a political matter. We haven't had a case on that.
One over there.
I was wondering what the Supreme Court's feeling was regarding term limits and direct democracy.
Well, I've told you basically the case. That's the case we've had. And there's nothing, I can't think of anything further than that. I mean, that was the case, and it was a tough one, and you got a good view of reading it,
Hi. I had a question about the newly passed Health Care Act, and whether you believe that Congress, under the Commerce Clause, has the power to
If I answer that question, I'll be impeached. But what's interesting about that, which I said when I was at the confirmation hearing, it's absolutely true. It's not just that judges are not supposed to talk about cases that come up because it's sort of unethical, etc. It's that it's really true that what an individual, me for example, is likely to say at a cocktail party, or likely to say when asked a question cold, can often be very different from what you think. When in fact you spent several days or weeks reading all the briefs in a case, getting to the bottom of it, discussing it, and spending quite a long time writing an opinion. So don't go start committing yourself to something before you've actually seen what the arguments are. And that's why. But yeah, that's why I can't answer.
Thank you, Your Honor, for coming out. You know, as I look out in the audience, I see very few young people. Fortunately, I have a 10, 15-year-old.
Yeah, there are a lot of young people. I don't know.
Okay, raise your hand. Where are the young people?
Yes, everyone.
No. I'm talking children. And you alluded earlier, and I think the biggest threat to our republic is the lack of, the teaching that you alluded to.
Yeah.
How do we reach the young people? Because I consider it an honor to be here tonight, and as one of 9 that makes decisions for over 300 million people, it's like a government star that you are. And this is where children should be, to see that you're real. The government isn't just something that's static, that it's real people. What is your approach to reaching more young people?
Well, I talk when I can. And what I say to the Bar Association, I said in Toronto, I said, look, this isn't my job any more than it is yours. I mean, of course you're right. Of course we need civics. Yeah, you see the point. So what I say to the lawyers, hey, tell people what you do. And you feel strongly about it, tell some other people. And when there's law day or some other excuse, talk to the people in the high schools. And I love talking to the law school students, the high school students. And what I'll usually say is, I say, because they're interested in, what are they? They get interested in this. But I'm saying, really, I'm trying to say something about your life. I can't tell you how to lead your life. I can't. I can hope for you. I can hope that, you'll have a loving relation, you'll have a family, you'll have a job, I hope, participate in the life of your community. And I can't tell you to do it, but I can tell you this, because I do have some expertise here, that the people who wrote this document thought you would participate. And I can tell you this, in my opinion, if you don't participate, and it could be on a library board, it could be on a board of education, it could be out teaching children how to read, it could be participating in political life. But if you don't, this isn't going to work. I can tell you that much. And of course, what I'm hoping to do is get them interested. And Sandra O'Connor has a big program called iCivics coming over the internet, which she hopes goes into classrooms. And the Annenberg Foundation, very nearby here, has done a lot of good things. They're in 55,000 classrooms. And of course, it's something I can't do, but it's something we all can do, and that's what we're involved in.
2 more questions, one over there.
We were very concerned today to hear that Justice Ginsburg had to evacuate a plane on a slide. We're hoping, I wanted to ask you how her health is, and also secondly, did all the justices read Jeff Toomey's The Nine book?
I don't know if they all did. I did read it, I admit. And Justice Ginsburg, I saw in that little news thing, it said she was okay, fine, and I think I probably would know if she were. And her health generally was fine. She's a more remarkable person, and we're good friends. Great. Yes?
And the last question is back there.
The question is about the post-World War II court and the pre-Warren court. How do you explain the more liberal decisions like Sweet versus Painter and Shelley versus Kramer?
Oh, there was a lot of them, I think, from what I've read. And here you really, historians will know more. But there was a calculated strategy on the part of the NAACP to bring these cases gradually up to the court. And they thought if we start with a law school, every member of that court is going to understand that when one black law student is supposed to sit in a special place and can't talk to anybody else in the school, they're going to understand that that's not an equal education. Because they've been through law school and they know what it takes. So this was a great strategy. So read that. There's a very good a one-man play I've seen on the life of Thurgood Marshall. And it is a good play. And it really encapsulates in an hour or two what was going on there. I mean, this was very much thought through and debated and discussed, and eventually they won.
Thank you, Justice Breyer. Thank you, everybody.